What is going on, guys? It is Jamil with MILMID Studios. Thank you for tuning in to another video. So today we're doing a comparison video between the TT Artisan 28mm f5.6 and the Summaron 28mm f5.6. We're at a very interesting location, and as you can see, the sun is going down. As a matter of fact, I don't have any more direct sunlight. So we're gonna set up the tripod, I'm gonna take a few photos, and then we're gonna compare the results. We're gonna see if this lens, which is about $700 Canadian, versus this lens, which is about $4,200 Canadian brand new, we'll see if the differences in image quality justify the difference in cost. So let's get right to it, guys. Okay guys, so I'm gonna set up the tripod, and this is gonna be the first image. I think we're gonna be able to see a lot of detail because there's a lot of intricacies going on in this area over here. So I'm gonna set the tripod, let's see what we can do. So I definitely want the same settings for these images. We'll go with an ISO of 64. It is super windy out here. So we're gonna be shooting at f5.6, ISO of 64, and we will be shooting at 1/45th of a second. So I'm just gonna fine tune my focusing here. Boom. So first image done. That one is at 5.6. You know what? Let's do one at f11. And f11 we will go down to 1/15th of a second. Still maintaining our point of focus and firing off. Okay, cool. So that was two images, one at 5.6 and one at f11. The first one was shot at 1/45th of a second, the second at 1/15th. So let's switch over to the TT Artisan, which is in my pocket here. We're gonna put this guy on, we're gonna take the same photos, let's see what we can get. You guys will have to forgive me because as I was taking the lens off, the gimbal head on the tripod shifted just a little bit. So just forgive me for that if there's a little bit of a difference between the photos. TT Artisan on. We are going to shoot at f5.6 and 1/45th of a second. There we go. Exposure looks the same. Just gonna adjust. I just have to slightly adjust this because I budged it when I was taking off the lens. There we go. That should be good. First image. And now second at f11 and 1/15th of a second. Same point of focus. Done. All right, so we're at a new spot here. Let's go ahead and dial in our settings. 5.6, 64 ISO, 1/125th of a second. I'd say that's focused. Done. And now we're gonna go to f11. And we're gonna have to drop our shutter speed to 1/45th of a second. Here we go. Cool. Let's go ahead and switch lenses. But we're starting off with the TT Artisan. We're gonna go f5.6. This is pretty cool. ISO 64, of course. Perfect exposure at 1/60th of a second for the first shot. First shot at 1/90th of a second. TT Artisan f5.6. We're gonna go to f11. We're gonna go 1/24th of a second. Okay, cool. TT Artisan is done. Dial in our focus. So I'm compensating -1 stop. So these are gonna come out a little darker, but it's gonna be even across the board. So, and f11, what do we say, 1/15th of a second? That looks good to me. Done. That's a wrap. All right, so that's a wrap. A really cool location. I definitely want to come back here again, maybe even for a photo shoot. So I'm going to get these images home, put them into Lightroom. Any adjustments that I make in terms of exposure will be done equally across the board to all images so that we can get a really accurate depiction of the differences between these lenses. I'm super excited to see the results of this comparison. So I'm going to get out of here and I will meet you guys for my final thoughts. All right, guys, so you've had an opportunity to take a look at the images out of the TT Artisan 28-5.6 and the Summaron 28-5.6. Two very nice lenses, aesthetically pleasing. I think TT Artisan did a great job and they paid homage to the classic Summaron 28-5.6. However, as you can see in the images, and I think objectively, I think the general consensus will have it that the Summaron 28-5.6 is just a better lens. It performs way better. The quality of the glass is super good. And, you know, I'll say this. The shortcomings of the TT Artisan really begin to show when you compare it to the Summaron. Standalone, I think that this lens can hold its own. I think when you compare it to the Summaron, that's when things really start to fall apart for this lens. Okay, so just a few notes regarding the performance of this lens. I noticed that there was a bit of a color shift to magenta with the images coming through this thing. Another thing that I noticed is that there was a softness, there was a haziness, and I think that that's simply just the lack of quality when it comes to the glass. And that's not a shot at TT Artisan. I think, again, it's just when you compare it to the Summaron. When I started to shoot at f11 with this guy, that hazy softness started to decrease a little bit, but it was still present, and it wasn't as sharp as the Summaron as expected. I don't think that was a surprise to anybody. One other thing that I noticed is that vignetting on the Summaron 28-5.6 at 5.6 was actually more than at the 28-5.6 at 5.6. So this had less vignetting around the edges than this guy in the images that I took today, at least. Let me know if you guys have a different experience. Okay, so after using both lenses, after handling them, comparing the images, what are my thoughts? My thoughts are this. If you are considering this lens, or if you have this lens, there's no need to even look at this TT Artisan. If you aren't looking to invest in the Summaron 28-5.6, if that's just not in the stars, if that's not in your future, and it's not something you're interested in, then I think this is a great lens. Do you need the Summaron 28-5.6 to make great images? No, absolutely not. You can make beautiful images with this because it's all about the person who's behind the camera and the vision that you have. So remember, the best gear is the gear you have, and the best photos are the ones you take. Don't forget to keep on shooting.